First of all, I love this movie. It's so immersive. This experience that he created. It's what is it called? It's the screen life format is amazing. But first of all, tell me who Amy is.
Amy is a Londoner. She is a very ambitious, dogged journalist who has come to that sort of middling part of her 30s where life hasn't quite worked out the way that she hoped that it would, is in a relationship that she's not really sure is the one. And things just aren't happening for her. And she wants to make life happen.
Right.
And she really makes life happen.
Right. Now, social media is such a big part of our everyday lives now. So when watching this film, you immediately relate to the characters on a different level. So can you talk to me about how relatable the screen life format is?
I think when we shot it, not so much. I mean, it was in terms of, you know, if I wanted to speak to anyone in a different country, I would use Skype. But obviously now it's more prevalent. I mean, who could have known that we would spend the entire of last year on laptops talking to people through screens, you know? But when we shot it, I don't know, I had to teach myself how to be more proficient on the computer for sure. Because obviously we're filming my laptop.
Right.
So everything I was doing was really what I was doing in that moment. It wasn't done in post. So it needed, so I needed to really like know what the beats were in terms of like who I called next. And, you know, I needed to know all that stuff, which is normally you can be a bit lazy and be like, oh, someone else is going to do that job. But I had to do all the jobs. I had to do all the jobs.
Now, from what I was told, that the rehearsal period was really intense. And just like you were saying, it's almost like you guys had to map out exactly what you were doing. But can you talk to me about the intensity of that rehearsal process and the bond that you and Shazad created during that time?
Yeah, it was super intense. We rehearsed it like a play so that when day one came up, we could have shot the whole movie in one go, which was really like so informative because it enables you to be so free because you got it, like, you know how the script goes. There's never, although it changed so much, obviously, because we were improvising so much.
Right.
I think, you know, me and Shazad spent an inordinate amount of time together in those rehearsal weeks. You know, we would rehearse all day, then we would go out for dinner that night together. And we really wanted to make, for us, we were so excited about this new concept of filmmaking. And it was like, you know, it was proper guerrilla filmmaking. The crew was tiny. We were both really passionate about the project and the story and about, you know, making sure that Anna's story was authentic. And because we were both playing real people, we needed to do so much more work than your average, like, let's just see what I bring to this role, you know? But what that enabled was when then he left me and we just had screens, there was already such a deep connection there in terms of as actors and as Amy and Melody and Bilal, that it was so much easier to navigate this whole new concept because we'd really built up like a really strong relationship.
Right. Now, this film is truly a collaboration process because not only are you guys actors in the film, but you guys are almost serving as your own DPs. And also, from what I've researched, that you guys were able to write your own scenes, some of which are actually in the film. Can you talk to me about the collaboration process working with your director, Timur?
I think that's what just was the best thing. I mean, you know, for me, this is the most nourishing, collaborative, creative experience of my whole life. You know, when we finished, I was devastated because I just knew, like, this isn't how normal jobs go.
Right.
Timur was just such a dream because I think he spent a long period of time casting these roles.
Right.
So I think when he cast us, he knew that we were right for the role, and he sort of handed it off to us a little bit. And because it was originally, you know, a French book, Anna was Parisian, then the script was originally Russian, then it was written in English. There was a lot of sort of like unpicking that me and Shazad had to do to make it real. And Timur was just really generous in saying, make this your own, like do with it what you want. And then, you know, I think we really wanted to build up the romance of it and the intimacy of it. And so making Bilal a real human was really important. And that's obviously not in the book.
Right.
So, you know, the sweet shop scene, you know, all of that was from me and Shazad collaborating together and like working out as actors, like, you know, what would be real for these two characters.
Now, what did you want to bring to the role of Amy that wasn't necessarily on the page? Because a lot of this was improv.
Yeah, I wanted to bring a toughness. I wanted to bring like my gut instinct when I read the book and when I thought about this character was someone that just had this steely core, you know, for me to understand how you could go and do what she ends up doing. I wanted to play her as not like a maniac, not as someone that's like crazy and like, you know, really what's the word? Like what's that word when you just impulsive, she is impulsive, but less just like manically impulsive and more like really, really fucking ambitious and really wants to get, you know, wants to get the best story, wants to get the best scoop. And I wanted to bring a toughness, which sometimes we don't get with females on screen, you know, and a strength, which I mean, I hope that I did. And then what was really nice was that I was able to counteract this with the sort of innocent, childlike quality that I wanted to bring to Melody.
Yeah, I mean, you hit, like, it's crazy because it's almost like being a voyeur in a way watching the film, because you start seeing this. I mean, you know what you're getting yourself into, but you start seeing the relationship blossom, and you completely understand kind of where Amy's mindset is, which is almost frightening to me is just watching it. But I want to ask you about the real life Bilal, because you guys got to see real footage of him. Can you talk to me about what stood out to you the most about watching his footage?
That he was charismatic,
right?
You know, he was genuinely really like, I mean, me and Shazad laughed about this, but there was a certain rock starry element to his videos. Like they were very, you know, he was a very egocentric. They were very like, you know, a lot of bravado and a lot of like, you know, there was a lot of like natural sex appeal, which we were expecting to watch a terrorist.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So when we first watched the videos, I think we were both like, oh, okay. So it was, I think it was really informative for Shazad to be like, oh, this dude was actually really charismatic and, you know, and probably seduced a lot of women.
Right. Like, just speaking of Shazad for a second, because he's amazing in this film. And like, he not only is he charming, but you're right, he has this sense of charisma about him. Because Bilal almost takes us. He's so charming, but it's his business. It's his business to be charming. But can you talk to me about Shazad's performance, because he knocked it out of the park in this too? It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like we were both so blessed to have. It felt like when on the first day that we met each other, we were both like, cool. Like we are both coming at this from the same angle. We're both going all in, like we're going deep, you know, there was no preciousness. There was a real openness with boundaries. There was no like, oh, is that what you're going to do?
Right.
It was just like, we constantly rolled with everything. And we really held each other in really like cementing this world.
Right.
And going to like the super dark places. Like, you know, like we talked about at the very beginning, we had talked about the film Blue Valentine and how, I mean, they're totally different, but how real that relationship felt. You know, you never thought that they were actors. I genuinely felt like you were watching a relationship break down. And so we wanted to get that feeling from these two characters, that it was, you believe them as characters. You never thought, oh, that's that person acting, you know?
Right. I mean, because you even at times empathize with Bilal when he's talking about his backstory and being home, and it's like, wow, you really have a soft spot. I mean, it's incredible. But another thing too, this is based on the book by Anna Errol. Can you talk to me a little bit about how her book maybe helped inform your character? Because if I'm not mistaken, some of the exact transcripts from the experience were in the film, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was it would have been hard, I think, for me to do the role had it not been for her honesty in the book. You know, she really, you know, she is protective of certain elements. I think, you know, there's certain elements that I put on top of it from my reading of like the subtext going on behind the way that she wrote, which I think we you know, we all do as actors. You read a script and you go, okay, but what is really happening here, you know? But the book is her account of what happened, you know. It's like, it's there in black and white and we can read that it really happened. And then to meet her and speak about it, you know, it makes it all feel quite real. It did all feel quite real.
Now,
especially when he went to Cyprus, and so his background was always, you know, it was, yeah.
I just found that as an incredible feat. But another thing too is what with Screen Life, what surprised you about the making of how Screen Life is done? Because like you, I did not know that, because I thought some of the stuff was in post. I had no idea that it was like all queued up on your computer, ready to go, almost like you had said, like a play. That's so fascinating to me.
I think it was hard at the beginning, and I definitely got a bit frustrated and a bit like, this is really hard and I'm the one doing it all, because, you know, I had a rig where I had a light, I had a camera, I had a sound bar, and it was like a huge rig that was my laptop, and that was, you know, that was the set. Like, there was no other pieces of equipment, there was no other lights, like, you know, because it had to feel like you were in someone's room, you know. And so it was always about me finding the natural light, or like bringing another lamp over so you could see her face properly. So I think that was sometimes trying, but it was like a double-edged sword. It was trying and difficult, because I felt like when the technical stuff fucked up, you were like, I don't want to be dealing with this. But then what it enabled was that frustration I was able to use in the performance, and not think so much about like, how do I look, or is this angle good? It was just like, yeah, let's go again, you know, let's do it again. And so that energy I could bring into Amy, which was great, you know. It
was such an amazing performance, and like I just love this movie. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And the tension in this movie too, the way that it builds is such an art form, especially in this Screen Life format. But thank you for your time. Amazing job. Thank you.